What's going on, fragrance family? Welcome to another episode of Taking a Test Drive. This series is where I wear a scent on my skin as my scent of the day for several days, including, of course, today. And these fragrances are from my own personal collection. And it's time to give you my thoughts before it goes into the vault for a full-fledged review. As you know, today's test drive is on the house of Lancome, and this one called Oud Bouquet. Now, one thing you're going to notice from my bottle is it is the old release, the 2014 bottle. This fragrance has been repackaged, reformulated, all kinds of stuff. Re-released, repackaged, I think in 2016, and then repackaged again in 2017. So this thing has been played around with quite a few times. This brand, Lancome, isn't a brand that I talk about much on my channel. I can see that I only have one video on my channel on this brand, and it is, of course, the discontinued Hypnose Homme. And this is a, I remember when I did a video on this, and there was two people, people blind bought this off my video. Some hated it, some loved it. It's a Modest Roussel lavender-based fragrance, which Roussel is a master with lavender. It's a great scent. There's a couple flankers of Hypnose Homme that I need to get. Those are really hard to find. But let's go back to Lancome as a brand. That is the only thing that I've spoken about. But I wanted to speak more about this line, of course, Oud Bouquet, and I got L'Autre Oud also, both old school bottles, beautiful, both beautiful releases. But this one, let's talk about this one because this one has a lot of promise to it. Now let's go under the hood. Let's take a look at some stats on this one. Release date was back in 2014, and like I stated earlier, repackaged twice. They really played around with this release. The nose behind this is Christophe Renaud, all-star perfumier, by the way. And of course, the major notes to this release, obviously, it's got rose in the front of the bottle. You would assume rose would be a major factor. It is. And of course, because of the name Oud, is Oud a major factor? It is. But a factor that is more than those two, in my personal opinion, would have to be the praline. The praline is huge in this release. This one is my scent of the day, but I want to remind myself of this introduction for the video while I'm speaking about the introduction. So let's remind myself of the introduction of Oud Bouquet. And one thing, beautiful, but the one thing with this fragrance, it's strong. Now that I've sprayed it in this room is engulfed with this release. It really is strong off the bat. Now, Oud Bouquet, I thought would be, from the word bouquet, probably a rose-oud combo that would be heavy on the rose. That was my guess as far as the name of the release and looking at the note breakdown. Now, the market is so saturated of these oud rose combos that it would take a miracle for a new scent to stand out in that genre. Well, Oud Bouquet is certainly in that genre, I'll say that, but it does stand out. And the praline is the reason why this thing stands out. First of all, this isn't just a feminine. I think it's rated as a unisex fragrance, and I agree. This is highly unisex, especially if you love rose in your fragrances. You like gourmand fragrances, but again, you like depth and complexity in releases like I do. This is highly unisex. If a woman wore this and loved it, personally with me, she has good taste. That's just my thought process. It's dark, it's mysterious, and a woman wearing this, gorgeous. But I'm wearing it today. So let's remind me of the introduction and onto the scent. The opening of Oud Bouquet has several factors, and it hits me with a medicinal oud. Now, it's not big, punching, and heavy, but it's there. It gives this fragrance an air of mystery. It gives it some oomph. It gives it some darkness. There's a lot of gourmand notes, and including the rose that gives a gourmand-ish quality, you need this particular note in this release to give it some oomph, some darkness, and some manliness. Now, this is paired, of course, with the jammy rose and a pinch of saffron. Now, these are all familiar, yeah? Yeah, they are. But no, not in this scent. This scent utilizes praline and vanilla to really turn and amp up this thing as a gourmand release. Now, it's not full-on gourmand. There's a lot of fragrances out there that just smell gourmandish. This one has that, air of it's yes, it has some gourmand pieces, and you could loosely say it's a gourmand release. Yes, because that is a major factor in this release, but it has a lot of the ambery glow in the background of this. So it really has two familiar facets, but it really does utilize praline in a really great way. The one thing about this opening, and that's one thing I did want to mention, first of all, when you're first smelling this thing, it's warm, it's cozy, it's dense, definitely, it's thick, it's syrupy, it's heavy, it's very heavy off the top, and it starts off really strong and it doesn't slow down. The oud, even though medicinal, is kind of westernized here and will be less in your face during the dry down, and it will just get a little smoky and woody in the backbone of the scent. The rose is full jammy here. I mean, it has that jammy quality, and it is central in this scent until the end. The saffron itself is hardly detected unless you look for it. So that is your third wheel in this release. And in a lot of oud rose combos, saffron is usually that third wheel. The praline is what sets this thing apart from just being your typical jammy rose dominant rose oud combo. Because without it, this fragrance would be just your typical rose oud combo with some jammy rose as your forefront. The praline goes, I would say, as your primary note to a high secondary note with the rose. It gives the scent a beautiful nutty, sweet, chocolatey coating that envelopes the scent for the duration. It's there the whole time. More into the dry down of this release, it shows almost an ambery caramel-like quality here. The vanilla amps up a bit here, shows more of its face in the dry down, and almost kind of given this scent a vanilla ice cream accord. Really nicely done vanilla in this release. There's a bit of smoke and wood here, like I said in the intro. That's from the wood. The oud itself, again, anybody that's scared of seeing oud in note breakdowns, this one is not barnyard-like, it's not daring, it's just very much a westernized. It has a little bit of that medicinal tinge up top, but then that really ramps down, and I mean really ramps down. The funny thing is with this release, and talking about that smoky woody quality, I've noticed, and again, I'm not wearing this for a full-fledged review yet. This is more testing for several days. The longer I wear the scent, the more I go out in hour 3, hour 6, hour 8. The more people notice the wood and the smoky aspects of this release, and not so much the gourmand ones. That's just on my skin. But I feel like that is the thing that people gravitate towards on this one. They're like, oh, you smell really smoky, or you smell very dark, woody aspects. And that's what they're gravitating towards, not the praline, not the vanilla, which is very interesting because it's the complete the complete opposite for me is that the more drastic notes are the praline, the jammy rose. Those are the more in the forefront for me. At the end of the day, this scent pairs an ambery, darker scent, Middle Eastern scent, we'll say, with a gourmand one, and meshes it together flawlessly. Both pieces really well done. It utilizes a familiar oud, jammy rose, saffron combo, and dare I say, they hit it enough. And I'm not saying it's hidden, it definitely isn't. They hit it enough to make it not a redundant release in that genre. It's actually quite spectacular as a scent. You know, when I first looked at the note breakdown and I was like, this is getting a lot of traction, a lot of love in the community. When I bought my bottle, I was like, what is this gonna be? A jammy rose with a little bit of gourmand tendency, but really it's gonna be an oud rose combo. I was wrong. This has the gourmand, the praline really steals the show, honestly. Now let's get into seasons, day, night, versatility, and performance. Seasons. This is a cool weather fragrance. Fall, winter. I feel like, again, for me, these Canadian winters, it'll work well because it does have some push. And I'm going to get into the performance. But in the fall, it works so, so well. Day or night, I say either way. Of course, it has a darkness to it that it could be mostly for night. Versatility, I'm going to go with average on this one. If you like gourmand fragrances, you like darker scents, and you're wearing it, of course, in the cooler months, you can wear it almost day, night, almost anytime, casual. Performance, this is where this thing really shines. And, you know, when you're looking at this kind of genre, there's so much, again, with the Oud Rose combo, there's so many fragrances that have push, a lot of it. And this one, performance-wise, magnifique. 10 plus hours longevity. No joke, this thing does push. Projection above average. So performance is a huge plus in this release, especially the gourmandy feeling of this fragrance. There's not too many fragrances that are built like this that will do this in the gourmand section, we'll say, but it has the best of both worlds in my opinion. So my final thoughts on this fragrance, and so happy I got it. I remember starting my journey, you know, only in the men's aisle, Hypnose Homme, great release by Lancome, unfortunately discontinued, but it just sees how far I've gone in my fragrance journey that old me probably would have never bought these fragrances. New me, of course, I'm talking new me like YouTube me, so that's, you know, almost 10, 12 years in. I'm happy I opened my mind to these kind of releases. So my final thoughts, when I look at fragrances as a reviewer, and this is what I do, my biggest criteria, you know, longevity, projection, versatility, things like that, they just come with the territory. They're not huge factors to me. You know, if you're going to be a little more quiet as a fragrance, fine. That's the type of fragrance you are. You know, but the big criteria to me is blend and balance. Those are things that I look for in fragrances, you know, and this one has both in spades. I think the blend is outstanding. The balance is there. It's beautiful. Performance is through the roof. And this pairs some of my favorite notes in perfumery and does it well. From honestly a brand I was not expecting such a great release. Honestly, this is where it all started with me. At the end of the day, Oud Bouquet is a home run. And I'm sure with more wearings, it's only going to get better. Just the way this 7-day testing went, this is an outstanding release from the brand. But today I'm done with this one. I'm going to shoot this video, send it all off to you. I'm done with Oud Bouquet. It's time for you to hit us up in the comments below. What do you think of this release? Looking forward to reading your comments on this particular release. And as always, a great or poor fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your scent wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube.